All right, everyone. Welcome one, welcome all. Episode 42 of the Casey and Tyler Show. We got a special one today, guys. We have the man, the myth, the legend, the very own EJ Shaah. EJ, thank you for taking some time to talk to us. For those that don't know, EJ is the defensive coordinator at Siena Heights University and good friend of the program. We went to high school with him, so glad he took some time to hop on with us.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Casey, I think it's only right if we start with the story.
Okay, so in high school, I remember there was one time where you yelled at me on the field to where we were playing Tecumseh in Tecumseh. It was our senior year. It was just a rainy game. I went out to kick a field goal. It's my first ever field goal attempt for some reason. And then Tyler Dunn fumbled the snap. And then he tried to put it down, and this Tecumseh guy came in and just smoked him. So it was my first time that's ever happened in front of me. So I started laughing. Instead of dropping down on the ball, I started laughing. The next thing you know, they pick up the ball and start running the other way. And I'm like, oh shit, this is like
Casey's just standing watching.
And I'm just standing there like I'm like a fucking deer in the headlights. And then after the play, thank God Corey LeBumbarb saved the play and tackled the guy. I remember walking off the field. You looked at me. You were like, jump on the fucking ball next time, man. I just looked. I was like, sorry, man. I just walked right off the field.
He's like, I'm never going to kick again.
I was like, I will. From that moment on, I was like, I will know. If the ball's on the ground, just going to fall on it if I have to.
I actually remember that perfect because you told the story almost perfectly.
Whenever we see Tyler Dunn, we always remind him, like, you remember when you fumbled that ball and got Casey yelled at? He's like, look, man, it was wet out. I was like, it happens, I guess.
You know, I mess with Westfall all the time. I was like, man, you love kicking field goals in rainstorms, man.
Yeah. I remember, Colin Sullivan, my senior year, fumbled one. I can't remember where we were at, but
we were at
Adrian, that's right. And that was, I mean, you talk about bad weather to kick a field. That was like a 45-yard field goal. He was going to try and boot down. We needed 1 yard. Just give the ball to Tyree or Will Russell. I don't understand.
It'd have been simple, but I mean, you know, hey.
As you know now, with being in coaching, obviously hindsight's always 20/20, right? So you got to go with your gut in the moment. And you know, as long as you have conviction in your decision, you can't predict how it's going to go. I mean, you always would be like, well, I could have done that, but in the moment, you didn't think that was good,
right?
We'll start with some of your accomplishments here, EJ. I mean, obviously starting back in high school, making varsity as a sophomore, not just making varsity, but being, you know, a lot of people that I've talked to just throughout the years, one of the smartest players that they've ever encountered. Probably one of the reasons that you were able to make that jump so early. Just being a step ahead of everyone, even as a sophomore. I know one of my good friends, Brighton Boyle, always talked about that. He goes, he's just the smartest player on the field, which it makes sense now with you transitioning and coaching everything. Run through some of the other ones. Obviously, as a coach, you guys have gotten the nickname Rough Riders for your defense.
Yeah, you know, we're definitely we stole a little bit from DMX. You know, I think it fit our guys. We got a pretty crazy group of guys. I would say we got a lot of not outcasts, but just different type of vibes, type of guys. And it fit our guys. You know, we're a little edgy. We kind of have that feel to us. So I felt like it was a perfect fit.
Yeah, well, you talking about your guys. I mean, you guys had a defense that broke 15 records last year, some 7 individual records, 8 team defense records, 5th nationally in yards per game, 3rd nationally in rushing yards per game. So you guys obviously have some dogs over there.
Yeah, I mean, I got blessed. I walked into a really good situation. You know, we've traditionally at Siena Heights have been a defensive school. It's just kind of who we are. You know, I walked into a 2-time All-American middle linebacker here. And then I returned pretty much all the starters from the defense the year before that was top 10 in yards per game. So my goal was just to kind of improve the areas that they were weak in and try and just set us up for a position to kind of make a playoff run, which we fell short of. But, you know, I definitely think we fixed the 3rd down defense. We fixed some things in the pass game. But we kind of brought a new feel, some new excitement to the defense that I think we were kind of lacking.
Yeah, I mean, how it's gotta help when you have a guy on your team that wins the Cliff Harris Award in Cole Merlin, right? That's gotta make your job a little easier, no?
Yeah, I mean he's a special kid. It's funny. I was just on Snapchat and there's a video of him. He's catching a kickoff return and a kid gets a beeline at him and Cole. Basically, they're playing a game of chicken and Cole kind of just runs through the kid's face.
Not the good situation for the other player.
Yeah. I mean he's different, man. I could see him getting drafted on day 3. He's got his pro day. He's gonna do his pro day at Central Michigan. I know you guys are fire up chip guys.
Oh yeah.
So he's going to do his pro day at Central Michigan along with our free safety, and I think he's going to be one of the best players there. He's going to be 6'1", 235. I think he can bench press 225. I think he could break the combine record of the bench. He's that strong. So he's got
the size. That's for sure.
He could pull off a 4.6. I'll be really happy. I think that'll put him in day 3 of the draft.
For sure, be a steal for him. Hopefully, our Lions can pick. We could use a guy like that over here.
They've been here a couple times, so maybe.
Casey.
So, do you do any of the recruiting at Siena Heights, or is that one particular guy on the staff over there?
Yeah, I do a lot of our recruiting. I would say we're kind of split up in different areas. What's really nice is, we're a younger staff, so everyone attacks recruiting pretty hard. I have Wayne County. Pretty much I have anywhere that's kind of a big city. It's pretty much my area. The only big city, coincidentally, I don't have is Ann Arbor. So yeah, that's ironic. Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Lansing, and then I venture out a little bit into Pennsylvania, and then I help out in Indiana. But yeah, I really enjoy the recruiting aspect of it. It's been ever since I left Sound Mind, Sound Body, I've always felt like it was my niche. That I always thought, I was one of the better recruiters, just my relatability with a lot of the guys.
For sure. When you're going through the recruiting process, obviously, recruiting at a school like Siena Heights, you kind of alluded to it. You're looking for some diamonds in the rough sometimes. Mm-hmm. How often when you're recruiting, I've always wondered this because, you hear it at Michigan with guys switching from wide receiver to corner. When you're going through the recruiting process, is it easy to identify like, oh, this would be maybe a position change at the next level for some of these guys? Is that part of the process?
Yeah, I would say it's a lot easier with the running style quarterbacks. You got the triple option guys in high school. I like to joke all the time. Cam Thompson was never going to play quarterback anymore. Right. So we moved him to slot receiver. This past year, we had a kid who came in as a free safety. He's 6'4", 205, and I'm like, yeah, you're going to play outside linebacker for us next year.
Right.
So that's the kind of kid we look for. I'm big on the Notre Dame approach where you just go out and get length, and you can always move a guy down the level, and he'll be a great athlete with great length. But I also speed kills, so I also look for that guy who's, on his tape, he's creating separation. He's out running angles. I'll always take that guy.
So are you when you're recruiting, you're looking at both sides of the ball then?
Yeah. So that's great. I recruit offense and defense. Anybody in my area is getting recruited. You could be a kicker, punter. I love recruiting long snappers because you get a good long snapper. You don't have to worry about it for another 4 years.
Yeah. Casey still got 4 years of eligibility left. You guys need a field goal kicker.
Hey, as long as he falls on the ball, we're good to go.
I'll fall on the ball 100%. I learned my lesson.
So I don't know if you heard these comments by Deion Sanders, but Casey and I thought they were pretty interesting. And I don't want to misquote him, but he essentially talked about when you're recruiting certain positions, you look for different traits. I think he talked about he wants his defensive edges to be from single mothers and that kind of thing. He's like, and I want my offensive linemen to come from 2-parent households because they're protectors. I know that's a little harsh, and I'm sure Deion's being Deion, but that's got to be somewhat accurate, right? You look for certain traits for certain positions.
I think you kind of see. I'm a big attitude guy. I went in and scouted Lincoln's quarterback this year, and the one thing I really loved about him was just his confidence to bounce back up and keep going. That's a really big thing for me on defense. My corners, you have to have a swagger about you. And I think a lot of that just comes from either you feel like you've been through a lot or you just feel like you're that guy. A lot of times it's two different types of swagger. But I definitely think Deion was definitely kind of playing to the crowd. Any publicity.
He was.
Publicity. I saw a comment online. It was like, so you're telling me if the 5-star quarterback is from a single parent home, you're going to say no.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder too, Dion being Dion and obviously he's done great things at the coaching level and everything. What's it like for you to coach at your alma mater?
It's definitely been fun, man. A lot of the things that I think would allow me to kind of feel really comfortable here have been just knowing the faculty. If my guys have, questions about the class or different things like that, being able to lead the tours on campus because I was a student here, I can give stories. I can kind of relate to different questions a little bit differently. I can get more in depth a lot of times with the student athletes, and then the guys on campus know you can't really get away with anything with me. You can't lie to me and say, hey, I had this or hey, I had that because A, I know your professor, or B, I probably sat in your class. So I know
Right.
what's coming before you do.
Yeah.
So it's been really fun though, man. Just coming back, you have flashbacks every once in a while. You trade stories with some of the guys. It was interesting this past year when Cole Merlin was a freshman, I was a senior. I was that fifth year grad senior. So just coming back and seeing those guys and seeing how they've progressed over the years was really fun as well.
I imagine it would help from a recruiting standpoint too, because you know the school so well, right? You're not BSing these guys. I mean, you're like, I lived and walked it for 5 years, so it probably allows you to really really hone in on that for sure. Casey, you got any questions? Sorry, I'm just hogging them up. I don't want to.
No, you're
Just
good.
feel
You're
free
good.
to hop in anytime.
When did you realize that you wanted to be a coach and all that?
It's funny. I actually didn't think I was ever going to be a coach until probably my true academic senior year here at Siena. I had a high ankle sprain. And I kind of just had to become a coach for one of our freshman linebackers. Just kind of taking him through the ropes, getting him ready to go play in 2-3 games before I got back. And it just kind of showed me, it was the fun side of it, trying to see how does he learn, what is he like, what is he not like, because he's a completely different player than me, but we're kind of very similar in how we learn, how we move things. So that got me into it. And then I would say my internship with Sound Somebody just kind of it exposed you to so many different things. And we took trips. We did the HBCU tour. We did a kind of a Power 5 tour as well, talking to those coaches about their trials and tribulations, but also their successes. Really kind of got me integrated and ready to go.
So for those who don't know, why don't you tell us what Sound Mind Sound Body is?
So Sound Mind Sound Body is a program that was founded by Curtis Blackwell, Will Johnson, and a bunch of guys from Detroit. It started off as like a super small, like 1-day camp where you got all the top athletes from the city of Detroit and tried to give them some exposure. It's kind of grown kind of exponentially now into a mentorship program, kind of like a reading acceleration program, and a lot of different academic things. But their biggest piece is trying to make sure guys have all the necessary tools they need academically, and then giving them the athletic training on the side. So right now, I would say they're probably the biggest camp circuit in the country with what they do. They just announced they're bringing the camp back to Wayne State, so that's going to be a big one. But it's just they do a lot more now. They do the HBCU tours, they do the big spring break tour. So just really excited, to have that connection with those guys. I call those guys family, so it's always been fun for me seeing those guys.
Yeah, I see here we have written down that you had 12 players with academic all MSFA honors. And I'm sure when you have a kid that you're recruiting that you don't have to worry about him in the classroom, that's got to make it so much easier.
Yeah, man, it is. I took this from Coach Nardo. I worked with him over when I was at Gannon. He's actually at Oklahoma State now, so it's funny. Every time I bring up something for those guys, I'm like, it must work because he's at Oklahoma State now.
Right.
Guys. But he says smart guys get better. And that's one thing I've kind of tried to really take with me, when we go on the road recruiting and different things like that, is smart guys do get better. They can pick up on different things. They kind of have attention to detail that I think is really critical for our kids at this level. Because, everyone's an athlete at this level.
Right. That makes sense. How often do you have to change like the schemes that you guys are running on defense? I mean, are you trying to recruit to a specific mold or a specific type of scheme, or if you get a couple guys like, oh, this would work better, one way or another? How often does that change on a year-to-year basis?
I would say you kind of have to change on a year-to-year basis just off of what you have. At heart, I'm a press quarters guy, the old Michigan State model when they were good. They were coming down. I actually coached with Curtis Drummond when I was at Lawrence Tech. So that's the model that I've gotten really used to. once I got to Gannon, Coach Nardo brought in that 3-high safety defense that Iowa State and all those guys run. So it's kind of made me very multiple. And I think that's what allows me kind of year to year to be able to switch back and forth what we do and kind of how we play it. But I'm a big, you can't fit a square into a round hole. So I think that's what really has allowed a lot of our guys to have a good year and kind of be confident going into the next year, as they know I'm going to kind of do whatever I need to do schematically to allow them to just go play.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think about all this NIL stuff?
I'm a big NIL guy. I think it levels the playing field. I think you hear a lot from Nick Saban because I think it takes the power out of Nick Saban's hands.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a joke that said that Nick Saban doesn't like it because booster dollars aren't high. And I think some of it's a little bit true, man. I think it does even the playing field. It forces, those athletes to really understand kind of the money aspect before they even get to the next level. It forces them to kind of grow up a little bit earlier. But I think overall it's really good for the game of football. It really allows kind of some of those guys to really – you see a lot of guys are staying in school a little bit longer. Guys are making decisions based off of not only just money, but kind of their fit, how they enjoy school. And it kind of puts pressure on you as a coach with the transfer portal as well to take care of your guys. So I'm really in favor of the transfer portal and the NIL money.
Do you think there should be a cap on the NIL money and all that, just so it's like you're not having like a guy coming out of high school making like $20 or $30 million, and all of a sudden you have a guy that's getting drafted that's not even making not even close to that money, and he's a professional athlete, and you're talking about a college athlete making a crap ton of money and all that.
Yeah, it gets really 50-50. I'm big on, I heard this from Blackwell again, you're only worth as much as somebody else is willing to pay you. And that's what I really enjoyed. I always say, like, you seen Charlie Batch say, hey, I'll give $1 million for Caleb Williams to go to Eastern Michigan. He wasn't going to Eastern Michigan, but it shows like, hey, maybe that 4-star kid wants to go to Eastern Michigan, and hey, I only want $500,000. Okay, now Eastern Michigan has a 4-star quarterback.
Yeah.
So I mean, it can get, I think there are points where it gets to the point where like Quinn Ewers is getting $1 million to leave school early, then he transfers and makes $5 million within a year. I think that's kind of crazy, but I definitely do think, it's allowed a lot of guys to kind of make decisions on, with a little bit more of a clearer mindset.
Yeah, I think the Quinn Ewers example is great because I do think people got to remember too, we're in the early stages of NIL, right? It's only been a thing for a couple years, and a lot of these kinks and extremities and stuff will be worked out over time. But I think from just a fan perspective, when you have a boosters or a donor willing to give a guy like Quinn that much money and then he just leaves, it feels like as a fan, like you never know who's just going to come knocking next. But you kind of allude to that. That's why you got to take care of your guys. I'm interested to see, just from the legal aspect of it, how it gets worked out with, like, okay, if you take this money, you have to commit to X amount of years here or something like that. I'm also curious too. We see like with the most recent Geno Smith deal in Seattle, like a very incentive laden deal. And I wonder if we'll see that come into NIL, where it's like, hey, we'll give you $500,000 up front, win the Big 12 or whatever it may be, get X, Y, and Z. I've always been curious about how that'll work, because then I think I've always thought incentive laden deals in sports just make a lot of sense, right? You want extra motivation to perform well, and dollars is usually a good way to do that.
Yeah, I've seen it. So I'm decently good friends with the Wanglers. They're kind of really in charge of Michigan's NIL kind of collective. I know their dad a little bit better because he does a lot of work with Soundbody than I do the kids. And their biggest thing is they do have some guys who are on straight incentive-laced deals. I know Caleb Williams kind of had a couple incentive-laced deals. So I'm a big in favor of it. I think that's always been smart. Especially once you get up to that professional level. I actually think it's dumb on the players' aspects to go with more incentive-based deals unless you're getting, way more money than you thought you were worth. So
yeah, well, of course, because especially in the game of football, we know it's a violent sport, right? Like I'm all for guys betting on themselves, but you got to go get that guaranteed money when you can, right? You can only play this NFL, right? Not for long, right? So
no, it's definitely been fun to watch how certain guys can negotiate and can't negotiate.
So Is there like a dream job that you're now that you're in the coaching that you're looking to get? Like, are you looking to get to like that Division I level or like possibly into the NFL at some point in your career?
Yeah, I would have to say my dream job, I would say there's three. I would love to be the director of player personnel at like Michigan or USC. And then I would also love to be the defensive coordinator at one of the two, but also an NFL position coaching job, being the linebacker coach for the Lions or the Eagles or something like that. I think that's kind of like the checklist. Like you're just waking up and going to coach football. You're not worrying about academics. You're not worrying about recruiting. You're just coaching football.
Is Casey had this question before you hopped on. Is there a coach or maybe a particular, like a few coaches or a style of coaching that you really like mold yourself after? Is there a guy at the next level or something like that I mean, obviously you've worked with a ton of coaches, but like, is there a Dan Campbell or someone like that that you really like what they do?
So Coach Nardo was one of the guys I got to work with at Gannon, and he's just a really good person. And that's one of the things that I think gets kind of lost in coaching is people try and be different people. And from what I've learned in coaching, it just amplifies who you are, kind of like money does. So the type of player and person you are is the type of coach you are. So Coach Nardo is just a really good dude, man. He's had a lot of success, but he's just overall a really good person. So that's what I kind of really try and steal from him. Schematically, I would say I think I steal the most from probably Dan Campbell is one I like to steal from a lot. And then
Great motivator.
Kirby Smart's probably one of my favorite just energy guys, just how he reinvigorates them at halftime, the schemes he does. And then I steal a little bit of pregame speeches from Dion at least twice a year. So
Oh yeah. Hey, you can't go wrong with any of those guys, EJ.
Right.
I mean, come on.
So I try and steal from the best.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Right. So what is like a day in, day out weekly for you? I mean, obviously with recruiting, you're probably on the road on Fridays.
So we had a really good year. We've already kind of hit our number in recruiting, so I'm pretty much done. We were pretty much done at signing day. So that was one of the good things for us. We got a couple kids in after signing day, but they have kind of already taken their visits or things like that. So I've kind of just been in the office getting ready for spring ball. We'll start spring ball this next week. We do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday practices, and then we'll do weights Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So my day pretty much starts at about 6, 7 o'clock, and some days I have the late nights, but pretty much it's just kind of getting in the office, getting out the office, and getting ready to roll.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I still think I love that stealing pregame speeches from Dion. That's great. You ever have to show these guys how to hit anymore? I know you still got some left in the tank.
Yeah, I'll hop on the bench every once in a while. I'll do a couple drills every once in a while, but I would definitely say I could probably go. I joke with him. I could probably go in a game. I think a game is easier than practice. But the next day I would be absolutely just.
We're getting old, man. We're getting old.
It's tough, man. And these kids, man, they get after it. And I'm a little heavier than I was when I played. So now, I'm like, well, I can play Mike. I don't have to run anywhere. I can just sit in the box. And then I got, my outside linebackers, they're messing with me because I watch film of when I played. And they're like, Coach, you can move a little bit. I'm like, yeah, guys, I was an athlete a little bit. But,
that was a while ago, though.
A couple years removed. But it's funny because one of the guys I played with my senior year is now my GA. So I have him show off all the athletic stuff if need be. But I've gone into 7-on-7 a little bit here or there and hopped in and got some work in.
How I mean, obviously you're a young guy. How young is your coaching staff over there?
So I would say we have no one over 45.
Oh wow.
So that's really nice. Our offensive coordinator, he's about to turn 30. Our ST coordinator is about to turn 30, and our head coach is in his younger 40s, and everybody else is either younger than me or right around my age. So we're super young, which I love. I think it's kind of our calling card. We can kind of sit down and we can relate to the kids, but also we're super competitive with one another, and it allows us to kind of bond and gel as a staff because you don't have a guy that's 75. It's tough for me and him to kind of sit down and chat about something other than football. So
Obviously you're a football nut. You love football. What are you able to do in your downtime, if there are any, to kind of deject and relax a little bit away from the game?
I'm a big Netflix guy. I sit down, I watch Netflix. My girl jokes with me all the time, all you're doing is sitting down watching documentaries and stuff like that. So I'm a big Netflix guy. I also love to kind of just, relax. I'll go out, take some walks, work out, but pretty much if I'm not sitting back watching a movie, I'm either cooking or, just trying to get away. I'll try and do absolutely nothing when I have some downtime.
Yeah, I mean, so what's on Netflix? You mentioned some documentaries. You big like thriller mystery guy? Like what's EJ Shaw cooking up on Netflix there?
You guys are gonna laugh. I don't know if you guys remember me in high school. I'm actually a history nerd. I'm
Yeah,
a history nerd. So like Roman history is my thing. Different things like that. I watch a couple of killer documentaries, like the Jeffrey Dahmer one was really
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Right now, You is kind of finishing out the last season of You right now. Is kind of my thing. But besides that, I'm trying to find either a comedy special, a documentary, or I'm just clicking something random and see if it catches my attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I know You's big right now. My girlfriend's trying to get me to watch that, and I'm like, that's just a big commitment. There's already so many seasons out, and I know me. I'll sit down. I won't move for 6 hours. You know what I mean? That's the
It,
tough part.
it's good. You got to jump in and you got to. I'm a big timer guy. I set a timer, 2 hours. All right, now I got to get up and do something else. So
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, it's like, see, I can't do that because at the end of the 2 hours, what if it ends so bad and you're like, I have to see what happens next?
you just got to get up and walk away. Once you get up and walk away, usually you're good. But if you stay on that couch, it's over.
You see that's why he's in coaching, Casey, because he's got that strict
He
routine.
has that
Us,
mentality that where he can
yeah,
just get up
we
and
just
walk
don't have
away.
that. Yeah,
I'll just sit on the couch for 6 more hours.
yeah.
Now, look, I'm saying this, but I'm 50-50 at it. So it works sometimes. Other times I'm up till 3 now.
Yeah.
Got to wake up at 6. So
To bring it back to the recruiting a little bit. I had this question written down. I mean, you hear it all the time. Coaches love multi-sport athletes. How much does that play into it? Obviously, I know just from my time playing like high school baseball and travel ball, it shows one that you know how to be on a team, and that's huge for guys at the next level. I know that.
For me, it separates the guys who are even. So if I got 2 kids that I think are right, the same thing, I usually go for the 2-3 sport athlete just because I can use other sports as references for them. For my corners, hey man, you're just playing full court man-to-man basketball. That's all you're doing. For my safeties, hey man, you're playing center field, man. That's all you gotta do is play center field. Don't let the ball get over your head.
Yeah.
So it allows a lot of my guys to kind of use different references, and it makes it a lot easier on me as a coach. I can pull out of any bag, and you can kind of dial in and understand what I'm saying.
Makes perfect sense. You guys do any fun like team bonding stuff throughout the year before the season gets started?
Yeah, so in camp we actually go to a water park. So
That's got to be a riot.
That's really interesting. This year I was able to stay free from the water, but the tradition is you always dump the DC and the head coach. I kind of hid for about 30 minutes, and then we kind of got rained out, which was nice too because we got rained out and I didn't get dumped. So
Yeah,
nice.
that's great.
Yeah, but no, our water park is pretty fun. You get to see the big fellas jumping off the diving board, different things like that. So our guys, I would say, man, they kind of do the team bonding on their own, man. I would say they're almost as tight as, if not more than when I played. If I see one, I see 5. That's just kind of how our guys are, and it's really allowed our guys to really kind of grow together. I'm not really worried about chemistry on our team.
That's good. Are you guys a younger team, older team?
We're pretty young. We only lost 3 guys. Now they were kind of 4 guys. They were 4 critical pieces, 4 starters for us. But their backups had a lot of playing time as well. So, COVID is a blessing and a curse. You got to go against guys for another year or 2 that would have graduated, but you keep your guys for another year or 2. So there's some guys like when I was coaching last year, there's a guy who graduated in 2015 that I was coaching.
Oh wow.
It was definitely different, but it makes it a lot more fun. You get to kind of develop those relationships and keep those guys for 5-6 years almost now.
Who's your guys' biggest rival over there? Is it Concordia?
I mean, yeah, the Pigeons are kind of, I would say they're kind of our biggest rival right now. They got I think it's an 8-year win streak on us right now, so it's been tough.
We got to stop that.
So we go to their place next year, and I think next year is the year. Just kind of looking at our roster, kind of our mindset this year is a lot more focused, a lot more targeted. Plus, it's a second year in my system, which I think is kind of the big thing for us. Some of the kinks we had to work out, with me first getting here, and now having a second year is going to be big for us. Besides Concordia, Lawrence Tech is trying to be our rival. That's kind of been the new kid on the block, and then
Okay.
I would say Marion in Indiana is one that we always have a really good game with. It's always super physical, and those guys respect us. We respect them, but everyone knows when you got to buckle up a little bit tighter in that game.
Yeah, for sure. So let's do. We're gonna put you on the spot here a little bit. Casey's a kicker you're trying to recruit. Give him your recruiting spiel right now. Let's see what you got.
All right, am I using our depth chart right now, or am I using just a blank depth chart?
Whatever you think. I don't care.
All right. So Casey, what do you want to major in?
Business.
Oh, perfect. I'm a business major, man. So everything that you're gonna need here, you're gonna get an internship. We're going to make sure you're placed with a company that you can go into your focus with. And so the academic side, I mean, that's a piece of cake. You got 2 business majors. You have 2 guys with MBAs that are going to be coaching you. So that's going to be easy. And then the plug for your business internship is probably going to come from either our director of business, our director of criminal justice, who's the plug on my internship with the Pistons, or our director of finance, who does a great job reaching out to different companies. Do you know what you want to do post-graduation?
Not really yet. I might want to own my own business, but I mean, mainly I just want to just get a business degree just because I can use it in different ways.
No, I mean, that's perfect. My dad's an entrepreneur, so, I have a lot of experience with that, just kind of picking his brain and asking him a lot of questions. So I completely understand that. I mean, you don't want to work for somebody, you want to make your own money. That's critical. And then as far as football, man, do you feel like you're a guy who wants to come in early and play right away, or do you want to kind of use that redshirt year to kind of develop your body, develop your leg, different things like that? Is that something you would be interested in, or are you trying to hit home right now?
I think I can be a starter year 1, in my opinion. But if you think it's the best thing for me to sit out a year just because like the current situation that you have right now with the current kicker you have, maybe it's a senior or whatever.
How modest.
I'll be willing to sit out a year just because I know I can play for 4 years after that.
I mean, my biggest thing is, man, if you can play, you can play. We're going to play you right away. If you got the leg, you got the confidence, you can deal with the pressure situations. I can't afford to lose a game because I don't have the best kicker on the field. So I'm going to play the best guys. And, I got to feed my family, and I got to feed my family with the best guys. So if you can make it happen, we'll make it happen. I just asked that question because I never want guys to be in a situation that that's not what they want. If we're not a fit, because you want to play right away and we got a, experienced kicker who's a little bit better, I don't want you to have to leave. But from watching your film, man, I definitely think you can come in and play right away, man. You do a lot of kicks and pressure situations, turnovers will happen on the field. You make tackles. I think we can also work you into some kickoff specialist situations as well. So I definitely think we got a place for you. What other schools are recruiting you?
Right now I'm being recruited by Concordia. Lawrence Tech is really, really into me. I mean, all these top schools that you guys' rivals are really want me.
I mean, my biggest thing for you is, man, if you want to go to those schools, that's fine. I just don't think there's going to be another school that's going to give you a better connection with the coach like me. I also don't think you're going to get a campus as beautiful as ours. And then the education here is part of none. And I think also we're going to be the best fit for you to come in and compete, come in and make an impact, and also be a part of a team culture that's second to none. Plus, we actually have a special teams coach who's worked with NFL kickers in the past. So now you got a chance to really kind of come in, compete, and develop yourself. It all comes down to this. I'm going to keep it really simple. Who would you rather be coached by, me or those guys?
Sign him up. Sign him up.
You.
That was great. I'm ready to run through a brick wall.
That was great. That was great.
Oh, man. Yeah, I just got chills. That was fantastic, EJ. Holy shit.
Who would you rather play for one usually works for me is kind of my go-to. I've gotten some very brutally honest answers before. Brady Rose, I don't know if you guys remember Brady Rose. He was the player of the year out of Mona Shores. I
Oh
said, who
yeah.
would you rather play for, me or Tony Anise? And he hit me straight in the looked me in the eye and said Tony Anise. And I was like, okay, I respect it. I respect it.
So you mentioned I keep keeping with the recruiting, just I think it's so interesting. How big of like a footprint do you guys have? Like you mentioned that like you do some stuff in Pennsylvania, but besides just what you do, you guys look all over the United States.
We try and stay in that Midwest realm. A lot of it deals with retention. You get guys from super far away. If they don't play early, it's really tough. What also has really helped us kind of expand our footprint has been the transfer portal. We had a DB, our free safety that's going to do his pro day at Central. He's from Georgia.
Okay.
Recruiting a couple of kids from out of state who are out of the Midwest. As far as transfer, just because they've already kind of got into the college experience, they know that this is what they want to do. They know how to handle their academics. Those are guys we'll take a risk on, going outside of our normal geographic footprint. But for the most part, incoming freshmen, we feel like the state of Michigan, the state of Ohio, the state of Indiana, if we can't make ourselves a national title contender out of that, then we're not doing a good job.
Yeah.
You see teams like Ferris State, Grand Valley. You see us. You see different teams like that. Competing at the national level with 90% of their kids being from the state of Michigan.
How often do you guys have kids that come in that somewhat use Siena Heights as a stepping stone to maybe get to a quote unquote bigger school? Does that happen often?
What we've been blessed with, we've only lost one kid to transfer, quote unquote, up to the Division II level. He went to UIndy. He was from Indianapolis, right outside the Indianapolis area. But a lot of times, man, our guys stay. We had no kids enter the transfer portal this past season, after the season. So a lot of our kids are really happy here. They feel like it's a really good fit, and man, we play really good football. That's kind of the caveat that saves us a lot of times is they'll play against 2 or 3 guys who get NFL tryouts or get NFL camps or different things like that. So you kind of see like, I can leave, but am I better than that guy who we just played against? Because if not, if he's in the portal and I'm in the portal, I'm going to be stuck at home. And that's kind of the cautionary tale that we give to a lot of guys is, hey, if you're not the absolute alpha here, you need to stay here.
Yeah. Well, not to mention just like a lot of times opportunities, everything. And if you transfer to a place where you're not going to get an opportunity, then it doesn't really do you any good unless you just want to be able to put in your Instagram bio that you're playing Division I now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know even like on the baseball circuit, we talk with Miles Ivory all the time. That's a big thing for him with a lot of these guys too. Yeah, it'd be great to say you're going to Michigan doing these things, but there's so many smaller schools that you'll get an opportunity to play at. Like 95 is 95, right? So having an opportunity to put it on tape is ultimately probably the best thing for a lot of these kids.
Yeah, and I mean that's what was so great about us keeping Cole Merlin. He had a chance to go play in the Big Ten, like legit Big Ten. Bowling Green came after him. He had a couple schools that were legit, coming to get him, and he just felt like, I'm home. I'm very successful here. I've got my internship set up. I've got all this stuff set up already. Why would I leave? Heck, I tried to poach him, funny enough, when I was at Gannon. I'm glad I was unsuccessful. But
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of teams that come in. I just always go, do you think that team is a better fit than us? And it kind of all goes back to my recruiting method. Do you want to play for that guy more than you want to play for me?
Yeah, it's like one of those things to where like they know you, they know how your coaching style is, that they don't know how the other coach is going to be and how they're going to react. Yeah, they have a set thing for you. They're possibly a starter. They know what to expect every single day. They go to Michigan State or they go to Bowling Green or Michigan. They might not be that starter. They might be that 4th or 5th guy down that depth chart, and they might not get that time on the field like they would playing for a guy like you and all that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of honest with our guys too, and they really respect that. The guy that transferred to UIndy, I told him, hey man, it's probably a good opportunity for you. I think you can go there and play. And he led them in there. I think he led them in interceptions, or was like second on the team in interceptions. We knew he could play at that level. It wasn't we felt like it was a better opportunity for him to go there academically. The internships being in his hometown, were just things he couldn't pass up for what he wanted to do with his grad degree. So different things like that. Our safety this past year, he wants to get his master's degree for a very particular program that I think only Michigan State has in the Midwest. Well, okay, let's see if we can get you into Michigan State's program. Let's see if you can walk on, or, see if they'll show you some love at Michigan State. So our guys really kind of respect my honesty and telling them, hey, this is a good fit for you, or hey, dog, this is a terrible fit for you.
Yeah. That's just such a good point. I feel like in compared to years past, we're seeing more and more guys that are getting NFL opportunities at some of the smaller levels, quote unquote. I mean, James Houston's a great example for the Lions this year, coming out of Jackson State. How exactly does that process work? I mean, you said that you had some guys come to you guys. You guys, do they reach directly out to you? Do they just show up? I mean, and that's got to be pretty cool for you to be able to point out to these guys like, hey, the big dogs are here today. You better come, be ready to play, you know?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We had all 32 teams come at least once to see Cole. We've had a couple teams come in 3-4 times to see him practice. Some want to see him in the weight room. Some want to see. Don't tell him that I'm here. I want to be in the press box and I want to watch him. So most of the process goes through our pro personnel guy, our pro liaison, Mitchell Osterchuk, our DB's coach. He's kind of the head pro liaison here. But those guys usually come in, they want to meet with the guy, get him on the board, or they want to interview him. They want to kind of just get a feel for him early. But like they were looking at Cole when he was a sophomore. By the time he got to a senior, everyone knew who Cole was. When I was at Lawrence Tech, our quarterback, I think he's going to have a shot. Tyler Coca. I think we had 15 teams come in and we were kind of a startup program. So that was really cool. But the biggest thing I always tell guys is they'll find you because they're watching our film. Like those guys are on our huddle. They watch all of our games. I joke with some of our guys, you probably need to watch some more film if the Lions pro scout is watching more of our film than you are.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But, you know, the biggest thing I always tell our guys is you never know who's evaluating. So our biggest phrase is I'll ask them, when are you being evaluated? And they'll say all the time. That's kind of, you don't know who you're being evaluated by, but just know you're being evaluated.
It's interesting that you say that, like, don't tell them that I'm here. You hear that a lot in baseball recruiting where don't take a pitch off. Like, there's a famous story of a cat down in Dayton that was a really, really good shortstop and didn't have a ball hit to him all game, and that he got offered the next day. And it was because he never took a pitch off. He always looked ready, and it was just the way he carried himself. And I don't think that, and granted, we're talking about kids here, right? Like we're talking 18, 19-year-old kids. Sometimes it can be difficult, right? Like they could be dealing with stuff outside the classroom, off the field and stuff. So it's definitely important to get that message across where you never know who's looking, and you never know when you have that. I mean, it takes one chance to ruin a good opportunity, right?
It's funny. I remember our senior year, we went up to Central for a 7-on-7 camp, and Westfall pulled me and KJ and says, "Hey, they're watching you two today, but they don't want me to tell you, so just be you." And so that was kind of the moment where I felt like, man, this is our last 7-on-7 of the year. I wonder how many schools have just been watching me all year.
Yeah.
So you just kind of never know. But my biggest thing is like I love going to games and just sitting in the stands and not going on the sideline, because you will kind of get that. Some guys will either show up a little bit more, or some guys will cower a little bit just when there's something different there.
Trying to press too hard, maybe,
try too hard just because they know a guy's in the stands looking at them and all that.
Especially if it's a decision making position like a quarterback or a middle linebacker. Those guys, they feel like they have to impress, whereas a receiver, you're just going out there and catching the ball whenever it's thrown to you.
Yeah.
So especially if I'm recruiting a quarterback, I don't want him to know I'm there. I'll come see him after the game.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned KJ. I mean, just saved a guy's life, man. Crazy.
That's crazy.
We've been in contact with Tyler Mabry. I think we're going to get them on the show. But yeah, that's great. Just so much success coming out of Lincoln, especially out of like your class and some of the following classes. It really feels like, and I mean, starting with probably the class of 2012.
I was going to say that was a class that I think changed
a
Lincoln
major
football.
culture shift there. And so what kind of experiences that have you taken with you, knowing that that's a school that barely won a game, and now I mean with Cam Thompson's team made it a legitimate run in the playoffs and whatnot. That's got to be something you can take with you to this program, right? Trying to not turn things around. You guys have always been solid, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's funny. We joked, me and Cam Thompson, I always go, "Hey, from the guys that graduated out of Lincoln, how does it feel to be number 2?" And he stares at me like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, I'm 1, you're 2." But I would say the biggest thing that I've always taken away is just kind of going into a game with confidence. That was the one thing that I felt like the 2012 team had probably up until the last game. And that's the one time I've ever noticed like oh, you guys don't have confidence here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I've always taken from that point on is just every game. I don't care if we're a 50-point underdog. Today's our day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing I've preached. And I think that's the one physical trait that or a mental trait that I don't think can be taught. I think it's something that you develop over time, just feeling that confidence, like somebody's got to come see me today. So that's what I think has been really fun for our guys, that I've always carried with.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense too. I mean, you talk about looking at even like for locally, like Michigan kind of turning around and getting over that hump with Ohio State. And it feels like just once you do it once, right? Once you show yourselves you can do it one time, then you believe. And like belief is that, especially in this sport, man, like at any given day, you see it happen in the NFL all the time. And granted, it's a little different because all those guys are the best ever. But like in football, if you don't bring it every day, I mean, in what like mentally too, like you said, to just have that confidence, it's a game changer, right?
Yeah, I think with football just being a game of 4 or 5 plays changes a game from being a tight game to a blowout or to being an upset. So I always tell my guys, let's go out here and give it our all, and let's see if these guys really got it. We played Marion with our 3rd string quarterback, both of our 1st and 2nd string guys kind of had some freak injuries, and we're in the game 21-7 in the 4th quarter. So it's just kind of different things like that where you're just kind of sitting there like, man, if it's 1 or 2 plays here, we get a pick 6, we force a fumble, we do this, we do that. We're a trip away from somebody, for us being back in the ball game. So I'm a big preacher. Don't look at that scoreboard because it could change real fast.
How does it work with you guys for playoffs? Like, is it based on like you have to get a certain amount of wins to qualify? How's it work?
So we actually just changed our playoff format. We added 4 more teams. So you used to have to be ranked within the top 16, or you had to win your division or your conference.
Okay.
There's been a couple of teams here who have felt really kind of shifted. They felt like we kind of got the short end of the stick. My senior year was a big one. We were 7-3. The only teams we lost to were playoff teams. And then there were teams who had not played a ranked team all year and made the playoffs and lost in the first round. So that's why we kind of expanded the playoffs a little bit more to kind of get more of those teams in. Plus, there's more NAI teams now that have a football team, so that's really nice. But it's kind of very similar to FCS playoffs.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one that they kind of compare it to, the FCS, that D2 kind of comparison.
Yeah. Okay. Casey,
since you brought up like the Cam Thompson year and all that, our defense, our senior year, would have 100% stopped his offense. Because I saw like on Facebook a couple years ago, there was an argument thread going on about like our defense versus their offense. Our defense would have 100% stopped that offense.
I'm a big believer. I mess with him all the time. I mess with Big Tate all the time and tell him, man, Tate, you would have never blocked me, man. It would have been a long night for you.
They forget how lengthy said was too. They're not doing anything with that. Come on now.
Like there was so much talent on that defense. I felt like our senior year.
Oh,
the only argument that's really tough to argue against is Matt Moore. I mean, I don't know if we got a guy that can sprint with Matt Moore for 50 yards on the field.
He's quick.
I say, we put KJ Osborne on him, and we kind of go from there. I always joke with him. I said, "You're not a better athlete than Keith, so I don't think you would have got off." So,
right.
But no, I mean, those 2 teams are probably, I have to say, the most talented teams. I don't know if they're the best 2 teams. But I know just talent-wise, I felt like going into those 2 years, looking at the rosters for, Lincoln there, I felt like those are 2 teams that could have made a run. I mean, the Wyandotte team we lost 6-0 to King in like the quarterfinals. So
it sucked. Like for years there, we were always drawing Wyandotte and just so close. I mean, even going back to like the 2015 class. I mean, like or no, it was your year, wasn't it?
No, when we lost back-to-back years. That's what was tough. The rain year was 15. We lost. We tried to make a comeback, and then 14 was my year. We lost kind of in that last second off of me and KJ recovered 3 onside kicks. We lose.
That was a crazy.
That was a game. Not to throw you under the bus, but I think Eugene threw like 6 interceptions, and we still lost. You guys still lost by 6 points or something like that. And yeah, I remember I remember the onside kick specifically because I came down from Central to watch that because I was like, I gotta support the boys or whatever. So we came down and watched that. And I remember just being like, they are clearly the better football team. You know what I mean? And I know that's like the old saying. It's like, well, if you're the better football, you would have won, but like just nothing. I mean, you guys did everything you could, and you know, unfortunately, turnovers happen and whatnot. But yeah, that was a crazy game. Are you still close with the Lincoln Athletic Department? I know you mentioned you talked to Westfall.
Yeah, I talked to Westfall. I talked to Katie. So I'm pretty tight with them. And then Coach Jesse, him and my dad grew up together. They played at Willow Run together, so we're pretty tight with their family. So I'll come back to a couple of games, and then my little brother is a rail splitter too. So I'm still you'll see me at a couple of games here or there whenever the schedule allows. But I try and stay tight with the home team.
Yeah. Well, what about that new facility they got? Would have been nice to have that when you were here, huh?
Oh my God, we would
have been great.
Had a playoff run if we had.
No, it's like all the nice things came after we all graduated. They got a new field the year after. They got new jerseys.
No, it's like we laid the foundation brick by brick, and then they just profited on all their success. It was great.
What's crazy is Westfall had us design the new uniforms the year before, and then ordered it when we left. So it was fun to see though. It's fun to see the maturation of what Lincoln can be, and then the amount running it's been crazy.
I mean that really put a big spotlight on Lincoln for sure, and obviously he's doing good things over at Eastern this year. Good year, good to see him bounce back. Obviously, well, we don't want to keep any more. In case you got anything else,
I got nothing else.
You'll have to let us know. You shoot Casey a DM or a text or whatnot. If you do come down for a Lincoln game, we'll definitely meet up and say hey and whatnot. And we'll try to get out to a Siena game this year. That'd be great. We'll come do some filming on campus and do a little spotlight on your guys' program. That'd be great.
No, absolutely. We'll definitely stay in contact. Appreciate you guys for having me on, and I definitely have to check out some more episodes.
Yeah, for sure, man. We appreciate it. And I think it's safe to say that you're going to be going far in this coaching stuff, man. So you just keep after it, and we'll keep in touch along the way. All right. Good luck this year.
No, definitely appreciate it. See you guys soon.
Yep. See you.
Yeah. Good luck.
That was great.
That was great. Great interview.
He's going to be very good.
No, he's gonna be a really good coach.
He ain't staying at Siena very long.
Oh,
no way.
Well, dude, his first coaching job. So that's guy like this is since we're still recording and all that. We'll leave this in. So EJ Shaah, his first coaching job was at Gannon University. No, I think it was at Gannon.
Yeah, it was.
Gannon University. He was their defensive backs coach for 2 years. Then he went to Lawrence Tech for a year. Then he got this defensive coordinator job at Siena Heights. And it's like I can see him easily getting at least a D2 or D3 program.
I wanted to ask,
in the next couple years, and then I can see him jumping to Division I and I would say in the next five.
You can tell, man, he just has a demeanor about him.
Yep.
That is he's a coach, man. You can just tell he loves it. And I can even see, even if he doesn't go and be like a defensive coordinator, like even if he has to jump to the next level to be a position group at first or whatever, I think he's going to keep climbing the ranks. I see no reason at all that he can't be, I mean, even more successful than he already is. I mean,
I would play for
just the way he talks about the game and like his enthusiasm for these kids and his understanding of how important the academic side of it is and everything like that. I mean, I hope coaches out there see this interview because I think obviously just a fantastic human being and would be a benefit to any program across the country.
And he's young.
Right. Which helps. That helps with not only with recruiting, but like he's hip. You know what I mean?
You can connect more. You can connect more.
He's
with
in
guys.
touch. Yeah. I mean, like he said, they don't have some 75-year-old coach over there that's just like what's Snapchat. You know what I mean? Like he can relate to these kids and put himself in their shoes so much easier. So just a fantastic interview with you. Like I said, an even better human being. So I hope he continues to come on. Would love to
we'll definitely have him on again. I might talk to him maybe closer to the season, possibly sometime over the summer when he's in like a dull period, possibly have him come on, then like maybe again after the season because I'm not going to mess with him throughout the season.
No, that's business time.
Like after the season, after they hopefully win a championship, We can
EJ,
have
if
him
you need
on
any
the
help
day on.
recruiting, Casey and I will go to games and we'll sit down and tell you who the guys are. We
Yeah,
have no problem with that.
Yeah, give me a list. Be like, I need you to go to this game. I'd be like, okay, I got you.
Yep. Casey,
Got you, coach.
Casey be the special teams recruiter, and I'm all about the offense. Okay, so I'll let you know if we got any tight ends or anything that we think will be good down there at Siena. Pretty cool too. We'll have to keep an eye on Cole Merlin and see. I mean, I would love to hear his name get called.
Well, dude, if he gets on, we can possibly get. If he gets drafted, possibly get him and EJ to come back. EJ to come back on, then we can get him to come on. Possibly,
yeah, that'd be great. That'd be absolutely
whether
great.
he gets drafted or he gets signed by a team.
Yeah, even if he, like I said, that's
like,
the cool thing. Obviously, people are well aware of who he is. Teams.
Yeah, I think it was really cool because I didn't know that NFL guys will go to I'm not shitting on Siena Heights or anything.
I totally understand what you're saying. I was shocked by that too.
Go to that many teams. I can get possibly the Lions because hometown Michigan team. It's right down the road. You can hit Adrian College, since Adrian College is a D3 school, and you know what I mean. You can hit you can go through and hit that. Pretty much hit Eastern, Adrian College, and Siena Heights on the way back. I can see that, but when he said all 32 teams, I was surprised.
Yeah, I think that shows you just how much more in depth the draft process is for teams than we even realize.
I know.
That's. I mean, if they're dedicating resources to that extent, I mean, that shows you that they're no wonder why they can find guys late in the draft at these schools that we've never heard of, but they know are dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're like, this dude from this college. You're like, okay, I've never heard of this college before. And you just watch his highlights, you're like, this dude can play.
Yeah, I think size is the biggest thing too, right? Like a lot of times at these smaller schools, you do get some undersized guys. I know Tanner Brewer went to Siena and he was a really, really good high school football player, but his knock was you're just not tall enough to play defensive line at the Division I level, but obviously this guy Cole has NFL legitimate NFL size. So
I mean, I think it's cool that you have a school like Central that's allowing these guys from Siena Heights come up there for their pro day and show it off, just because it would suck for a guy like Cole that has that talent that he could play in the next level to where, oh, well, coaches can only see you based on film. They can't actually come and watch you in person because your school might not have a pro day and all that.
I think it just shows you how close programs can be, because at the end of the day, you're all just trying to help kids get to the next level, right?
Yep.
So I think that's cool that Central, like you said, opens up their field and says, hey, we're already have guys come here. If you guys have anyone that you want to send or that have been asked about, feel free to send them up. That's cool. It's really cool. But all right, what an episode 42 with EJ Shaah. It was great. Do you want to record a little intro that we'll put before the thing?
You kind of already did that. You kind of did that before.
Okay, I just wasn't sure.
You kind of already did the intro before, so we're good.
Cool. All right, bet I will stop the recording.
Love you guys.
See you guys. Yep.